Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you new here, my name is Donna, and for those of you not new, thank you so much for continuing to come back and support my channel. I appreciate all of you so very much for clicking on my video. Today I am doing the next installment in my palette roulette series. This is episode 53, so we just passed the year mark. And for those of you that don't know what this is all about, I got inspiration from Danny, channel name p.A.w, here on YouTube, to do basically a palette a week series in which I let an app choose a palette for me. And then I come back the following week and talk to you about what I learned about the palette. So it's just basically a series in which I'm trying to really use my stuff. Every time I say,
just a sec.
Every time I say series, my iPad that I use as a monitor, Siri pops up. But lo and behold, he didn't that time. So the palette that was chosen for me last week was the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. This is a palette that I picked up in not this most recent Sephora sale, but the one before that. It was on sale for, it is a $129 palette, but it was on sale for $99, I think, during that time frame. And then of course I am Rouge, so I got the 20% off in that moment as well. So I got it for roughly $79. This palette does have 4.5 stars on the Sephora website. It has 343 reviews on it, and it has 0.08 ounces per pan, and there are 15 pans of shadow in here. This is what those pans of shadow look like. It is a neutral. I'm trying to hold it back far enough that you guys can see. There's something going on with the white balance on my camera, so I'm not exactly 100% positive how to fix it. So this is what it looks like. It is a palette that is made in Italy. It is cruelty free. It is also talc free. It is just warm toned shadows, some neutrals in there. It does have oranges, browns, and a yellow. Well, yellows. This one kind of gears a little yellow. This one is like a yellow gold. And there are 4 different finishes in this, which are mattes, chroma crystals, which is Natasha Denona's perfected special formulation, metallics, and duochromes in this palette. It was initially a limited edition palette that came out in 2017 and wasn't supposed to stick around for very long, but it's still around. As I said, I just picked it up this year in not the most recent Sephora sale, but the next most recent Sephora sale event. And I have to tell you, the performance is great. It's funny because I look back on previous anti-hauls, and I remember anti-hauling Natasha Denona is what I used to call her. And because of the sheer price of it. And then my children bought me the Lila palette for Mother's Day one year, and from that point forward I was suckered in to Natasha Denona. Really, I have to say, her mattes blend flawlessly. Her special shadows are amazing. Most of them are really great. The performance is always amazing with or without primer. Today I am wearing primer, but I have worn them without primer, and they still last just as long without primer as they do with. This past week I had some days that I fell asleep with my makeup on, and the next day woke up and my makeup was still intact, which was crazy to me. It was intact enough that I could have just touched it up and went on my merry way for the day, but I didn't do that, mortified by the fact that I had fallen asleep with my makeup on 2 nights And during this last week, I've been super, super tired lately. I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that it gets dark. It's dark when I wake up, and it's dark before I'm even contemplating coming home for my workday. So there's that. There's very little fallout with most of the shadows in this palette. There were some of them, like the toppers mostly. So like this one here, a little bit of fallout. This one here had a little bit of fallout. But for the most part, there was very little fallout throughout this palette. And that's unexpected for a lot of those deeper matte tones. So, and like I said, the longevity was pretty amazing. It lasted 12 to 16 hours on my eyes, and as you heard me say, I did fall asleep with it a couple days, woke up the next morning, could have just touched it up and went on my merry way. So I have no doubt in my mind that these shadows have some pretty awesome longevity as far as performance goes. I am going to swatch it for you real quick. We're going to do it on my hand again like we have been doing. I find it to be the best way to show them. That way we're not making a mess on my arm. We're not making a mess anywhere but on my hands. And I can do it and show them off in a way that is necessary for viewing purpose, if that makes any sense. When I was doing them on my arms, they weren't always coming out amazing because I'm the world's worst swatcher. So we're going to do the first row, which is this row here. The first one we have here is Atmosphere. That is what it looks like. It is a metallic, reddish brown, like icy, sheeny, coppery color. Can you guys see that? All right, the second shade is, I think it is called Sinai. It is a matte red orange. The third shade is actually a topper, but its name is Ice Gold. It is a white chroma crystal. This one is really, really loose in the pan, and it actually performs like a matte in your eye look, but it does have some like crystalliness to it. It's chroma crystal, so I noticed I used it in my brow bone every single day. It is the brow bone shade today. I would notice when I would put it into my brow bone some like fallout with it because it is loose. It is loosely packed in the pan, and it is technically a chroma crystal. It technically has little like shiny bits in it. Not necessarily glitter though, because I don't find that it has glitter on my face, but you guys look at how shiny that is. It's just so, so pretty. And then we have this shade here, which is, wow, my lighting got really weird. That shade there is Mandarin. It is a duochrome orange to gold, and you can see that on my hand. In some light it is orange, and other light it is gold. And then the last shade in this palette is this one here across the top, and that is Bronzage, and it is a like pinky brown chroma crystal. This one, however, really whatever binder it has in that chroma crystal for that bronzage, it is loosely packed like Ice Gold is, but it doesn't like go everywhere like Ice Gold does. It is a really, really nicely bound chroma crystal. It is a beautiful color. It is actually in my eye look today. It is the center shade here. I do have this first shade here on the inner and outer portions of my eye look today, and then that shade is what is dabbed into the center of each lid. And then of course the Ice Gold color is the brow bone shade in my brow bones. I use that color often for the brow bones. I used it every day for the brow bones. And then I also used it for the inner corner. It just really, really perked up my eyes, made them look really wide awake and open every single time I used it. For the second row, the first shade we have is Volcano. And I say volcano because it's V-U-L, not V-O-L. It is a matte, like, plummy brown. It's got a little bit of, like, purplescence to it, I feel like. Kind of like a plum or aubergine almost, but a little more brown than an aubergine, I guess. The next shade is this one. It is called, I think, Aubade. It is Aubade. Not sure I'm saying that right. Forgive me if I'm slaughtering that. That is a peachy gold chroma crystal, and this one, again, the binders to this one are really superb. It holds on to the color really, really well, and it doesn't tend to, like, drip onto your face like that white gold or ice gold shade did at the top. I found this one to be actually really super creamy and smooth and just so, so pretty in an eye look. The next one is this one here, and it is called Horizon. It is just a matte orange. It's a really pretty orange creamsicle color. And then there is this one, which is Sundays. And you guys can see this. This is probably the worst shade in the palette. If I had to pick a worst shade, that would be it, because it is a yellow gold chroma crystal. It is, you can barely see it. You can see that, hopefully. It is a loose product. The binder just isn't there. There's a ton of fallout with this one. It's not a great color. Like, I put it on to the center of an eye look that I did yesterday. I think I can put the picture up in here, and it does appear on that eye look very, very nicely, but this was building it up and building it up and building it up and building it up. I literally went in with a regular brush, a wet brush, a denser brush, a denser wet brush, my finger. It was awful. It was awful trying to get this color to show up, and hopefully you guys can see that too in the swatch, because it just it's too similar to this one here, and I felt like this one here was just a better option because it performed better. And then the last shade in that row is another matte, and it is this one here, and it is called Terra. It is just a matte orange brown, and it is a lot more, you see that it is a lot more orange than this brown here, which is a little more plummy. It was a beautiful brown. What I will say though is this palette was a lot more orange than I anticipated it being. I like orange. I love orange eye looks, and I like them on myself too, so that's a good thing, because it was a lot more orange than I really anticipated it being. I really thought it was going to be a lot. I could get a lot deeper look out of it, and while I feel like I was able to get great looks out of it, I don't think any of them had, like, you know, a real density to them. The last row, the first shade is this one. It is Bermuda. It is just a really pretty, like, peachy tone. It is in my eye look today along the top near the brow bone. It is a matte light peachy pink. It is super dusty. It's probably the dustiest one in this palette. There isn't fallout with it, but there is a lot of kick up in the pan. So there's that. The next shade is this one, which is Morgana. It is a beautiful... I just got that peachy tone all over my notebook, and it's all over my shirt. That's awesome. Morgana. Morgana is a red to coral duochrome. This is a super, super pretty color. Dang it, Siri.
One moment.
This is a super, super pretty color. You don't need much. It takes very, very little to get it on your eyes. And if you use more than just a tiniest bit on your eye look, it starts to look cakey. That's what I would say about this one. I did have an eye look that I did with this color in the center that looked really good on one eye but really bad on the other, because I learned my lesson with the one eye but couldn't shear it out enough. And then by the time I got to this eye, I just picked up the slightest bit on my brush and went in on this eye with it, and this eye just looked better. It typically works out that way anyways, but super pretty color. The next one is, I think it's called Panjin, and that didn't swatch very well, so I'm going to swatch it again. That is a red. I think that has to do with the fact that my hand is still kind of wet from wiping off the last colors. And that is a matte red. It appears red even when it's sheared out, so that was amazing to me. Let me see if I can build that up a little bit. Well, no, I just made a big old mess. I think my hand was still wet in that area, but it is a very pretty matte red. It stays a matte red no matter how much you shear it out and blend it. It is a really beautiful red shade. Not the last one, the next one is this one, and it is called Igneous, I believe. It is a matte, like really neutral deep brown, so it's not like super warm, it's not super cool, but it does help to deepen up any look. This is the only shade in the palette really that has like this neutral tone to it that allows you to really deepen up a look without turning it more orange or more red or more orange or more red. And I was really thankful for this shade actually a lot. I had it in several outer corners, outer V's, just to deepen up eye looks, because there was a lot of orange in this palette. And then the last shade is this one, which is called Soul. You guys see that pigmentation on that yellow? How crazy is that? It is a matte yellow. Obviously the swatch is so pigmented. However, using a fluffy brush, you do have to build it up to get that pigmentation. I had several eye looks that I used it as the top shade in my brow bone, not brow bone, but like this shade here that kind of melts in between the crease and the brow bone shade, that upper, you know, upper lower, this section of your eye. What is that? What is that called? Your brow bone, but not your brow bone? Like, whatever. I used it often to blend out. Oh, I bumped my hand. I used it often to blend out some colors I might have went ham on too far up, and the yellow just really dissipated that color, really like sheared it out, muted it out, and turned it into actually something pretty beautiful. So you see what the palette looks like after I've went into it. You see what I mean by this one is super dusty. That is the worst shade in that palette as far as getting color all over it. God. And I've got it all over me too, so that's super fantastic. So those were the swatches. A little bit of information on the colors as well. The palette itself, the packaging, some people are not super fond of Natasha Denona's regular type of packaging. I like it. I like it a lot. It's got like this leather, like stitched leather-esque feel to it. These letterings are like stamped into the leather. It is like foam, and I think that's one of the biggest problems that people have with Natasha Denona's palettes. That and the fact that it has this little flapper thing on it to cover the shadows, but I like that flapper thing too, to be honest. It does have a mirror, decent sized mirror, and then these are the magnets that hook to the magnets on the other side to keep it closed. The little dude here does show you the names of each one of the shades, and then they are also marked with their shade number and like a letter code afterwards. So like one Atmosphere's number is 120M, so that means it is 120 metallic. And like Sinai is 121 cm. That's 121 creamy matte. So the K in ice gold and bronzage and aubade and sundays, those are chroma crystals. That letter code is K. I did do a like a get ready with me, or it wasn't a get ready with me, it was a makeup playtime with this palette that I uploaded last week on Friday, and I was like, what does the K mean? I'm not sure what the K means. I do have several of her palettes. I probably knew what the K meant at one point in time, but now I know what it means again. It just means that it is one of her chroma crystal shadows. And then each one of these pans does pop out and can go into a magnetic palette if you'd like. Natasha Denona was built on the premise that this is, you know, professional grade makeup, and each one of the pans pops out. So I know I've had this conversation before. A lot of people get into the weeds with Natasha Denona's palettes being $129 a piece. They are 15 shades. And I just want to call out the fact that each one of these pans is 0.08 ounces of product. With that being said, each one of the pans in this palette is $8.60, but they are twice the amount of product as a ColourPop shadow, which will cost you $5, $6. I think it's $6 these days for 0.04 ounces. So, in my mind, that means that Natasha Denona's shadows are not really more expensive than a ColourPop shadow, which most people have absolutely no problem purchasing. I don't have a problem purchasing Natasha Denona. I think that her shadows are definitely worth the price. Her mattes blend like a dream. Most of her, you know, special shades I absolutely love. I think that it's a niche, and a lot of people will either love her shadows or hate her shadows. I think that for the most part, the pigmentation that you see in the pan is going to be exactly what you get on your eyes. With that being said, this one did surprise me quite a bit. It is a lot more orange than I anticipated it being, but I think it's because I was really looking at the, you know, brown tones in here and thinking that they would be more brown, but the color scheme that goes with them makes them appear more orange on your eyes. I think if you were doing an entirely brown eye look with this palette, it would look brown. With some hints of orange. Most of the chroma crystal shadows work best with your finger. I would say that if you're going to use the chroma crystals, do them with your finger. You get the best pigmentation with them with your finger. With that being said, I did use this one with a fluffy brush almost every single time I used it, and that's how I got it in my brow bone the way I got it in my brow bone. With your finger, it does appear a lot more white and sparkly than it does in my brow bone. So I think it is beautiful, and I would definitely put it on the center of my eyelid if I was doing a look that called for it. And as a matter of fact, I don't know why I didn't. I'm actually pretty flabbergasted that I didn't. Wet with these shadows is not necessary. You do not have to wet them. As a matter of fact, I did not notate any difference between a wet Natasha Denona shimmer special shade and a dry one. So there's that. I thought that was pretty amazing because I wet almost every single one of the shimmers in my life, and I don't think that you need to with these guys. The looser chroma crystal shadows had application fallout, like I said earlier, but they didn't have any fallout during the day. And the chroma crystals were built to be toppers, so keep that in mind when you hear me say they have fallout. When you hear me say that they're a little looser built in the pan, it's because they're meant to be toppers. They're meant to go on top of another shade, so they have that, like, you know, turn your head and see that little bits of shine on your eyes. That's what they were meant for. Other than that, like, you know, you guys, I think that's about all I have for you as far as this palette goes. I think it is an awesome palette. I wanted it for so long, but again, I wasn't spending the money on the Natasha Denona price. That just wasn't going to happen. And then my kids bought me the Lila palette, and then I was sunk into loving Natasha Denona shadows. And when I saw it was on sale, I was going to pick it up. And then I saw that the Rouge event was coming, and that it was still going to be on sale, and then I was ecstatic. And it was like a no-brainer for me. It was something I had to pick up. I purchased initially the Yes Please palette back in 2017 from ColourPop because it reminded me of this palette, and I didn't want to spend the money on this palette. And I will say this is not really anything like the Yes Please palette. Yes, they have similar tones, but this is really not anything like it. And I think I used the Yes Please palette already in this palette roulette series, so I'll link that up in the cards so that you guys can go back, refer to it, and then come back and watch this one as well. These are just so buttery. They're just so buttery and smooth, and even the chroma crystals, which are looser packed in the pan, are still super buttery, super finely milled, and just beautiful powders. I'm gonna go ahead and pick our new palette. For those of you who are unaware, I do use a Samsung Note 9. I do use an app that I picked up in our Play Store, and it is called the Decide Now app, and it looks like this. It is just a Wheel of Fortune type app. I did put all of my palettes into this wheel, and as we use them through this palette roulette series, I do take them out, and as I get new ones in, I do put them in. We have been through, this is our 53rd palette roulette, but we did have one palette roulette last week that had 2 palettes in it. So this is our 54th palette, and we are going into our 55th. So to spin the wheel, we just spin it here. And it is the Norvina Volume 2 palette. I am so excited. I will be right back. Okay. I have to be honest, of all 3 of the palettes, because I did pick up all 3, I don't know if you saw the video in which I hauled these, but I got one of them for points, and the other 2 I got from Sephora on a gift card for $50, so I actually I purchased all 3 palettes for $70, which is just a little over what one of the palettes was costing, and I had to have all 3. So I couldn't get volume 1 and volume 3 and not get volume 2. So I did get volume 2, but this is probably my least favorite of the palettes. This is what the palette looks like on the exterior. I love the packaging on this. This will be the first time I will have touched any one of these palettes, so I'm super excited. What I love most about it is the giant mirror that it has on it. This is going to be excruciatingly hard to travel with, though. And then these are the shades in there. I'm really excited to use it, but kind of scared all at the same time. This is definitely not up my alley for color scheme. I'm excited, though. I'm excited to do something new and crazy adventurous, and definitely not something that we've done yet, because I don't think I've had a palette that even comes close to this at this point. So I hope that you guys stick around for next week. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, that you're considering giving it a big thumbs up. I also hope that you liked it, or you liked me enough that you're considering subscribing to my channel, or you just want to subscribe long enough to come back and watch me do this next week. I'm so excited to use this palette and so nervous all at the same time. I hope that you consider subscribing before you leave, and if you do, I hope that you hit that bell down there so that you're notified every single time I upload. I currently upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday or Sunday depending on my work week. I also typically upload at 9 a.m., but I've been having some technological difficulties, so please hit the bell so that you're notified every single time I upload. I also plan on doing Vlogmas. I know that I've said that several times in the last several videos. I will also have a Vlogmas introductory video going up later on this month. Please subscribe so that you don't miss out. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you had an amazing time. I look forward to hearing your comments down in the comments section, and until next time, bye guys.